Hello and welcome back to On to the Next. Oh, Jesus Christ. Hello and welcome back to On to the Next Thing. I'm your host, Michael, and this is our 10th ever episode. Let's go. Fire off the champagne. I'm excited. I'm going to add a bunch of sound effects in to show just how fucking excited that I am about the 10th episode that I really wanted to prepare for, but didn't have a lot of preparation time right now. So right now I'm putting something out for the people. Episode 10, it's happening. There's going to be something bigger coming up because I have a whole bunch of new ideas now that I know that I can make 10 episodes of something, and we're going to fucking do this. All right, but first, bird news. Pulling up bird news. Got to get right into it because I'm actually going to be late for something otherwise if I don't get this done now. So we're going to fucking speed round this shit. Oh, fuck. I forgot to narrow down how many bird news articles I had for the day. Let's see. Holy shit. Let's just do the first couple. All right, then maybe I'll have some more for when I have a guest on, because the guests love bird news. Everyone loves hearing me read articles about birds. This is from, oh, Jesus Christ. This is from CPR News. A tropical snake bird just landed in Boulder, and it's turning heads. This is another story out of Colorado, which apparently has an issue with exotic birds running wild in its mountains, I guess. I don't really know what else is in Colorado. There's Denver. Go Broncos. With dark and glossy wings and a neck like a serpent, a tropical ahinga has made Boulder its new perch. I thought they said it was a snake bird. I guess it's also called the ahinga. The sleek underwater hunter, often seen in the swamps of Florida or the wetlands of Mexico, was spotted hanging out at a pond near 95th Street in Boulder County on June 2nd. Since then, the female bird, identified by the light-colored plumage on her neck, has come and gone a few times, but she stuck around long enough to cause a stir in the birding world. I was pretty surprised, said Scott Taylor, director of the University of Colorado's Mountain Research Station. Just the fourth record of one of these birds in the state of Colorado, so it's pretty exciting to hear about it. And even better, this is the first chaseable ahinga in Colorado history. Others spotted as far back as 1931 haven't stuck around long enough to fall into that category. Wait, what's a chaseable bird? I was just going to ask that question. These writers are so fucking smart. Oh shit, am I using the right microphone? Never mind, I was. Alright, back to bird news. Fuck, totally lost my place. Right, we were figuring out what a chaseable bird is, because this ahinga is chaseable. In birding terms, a chaseable sighting means a rare bird is sticking around long enough in a public, accessible spot for other birders to go see it. It's not just a fleeting glimpse or a lucky one-person find, it's a full-on birding event. And this unusual guest has already drawn birders from hundreds of miles away. Ooh, why is it called a snake bird? Anhingas, oh fuck, I was calling it an ahinga the whole time. Anhingas are known for their stealthily underwater hunting style. Quote, their face almost looks like a heron, but then they have this long neck attached to a body that looks like a cormorant, which are more common in Colorado. They swim around underwater with their feet, which is often just with the top of their face exposed, and then they'll dive down to catch fish, Taylor said. That's where the term snakebird comes from, because they catch fish. No, that's where the term snakebird comes from, because from a distance where they're swimming around, you can confuse it with a snake. And when they're done fishing, they do something else that makes them stand out. Spread their wings dramatically to dry. They don't have good waterproofing on their feathers, so they have to dry off after they go swimming, Taylor said. A long way from home. Birds are about the size of a Canada goose and typically live in warmer climates with access to fresh water, so what's this one doing in Boulder? Taylor calls it a case of avian vagrancy, a term for when birds show up in places that they're not expected. Sometimes it's caused by weather events, like a big storm. Sometimes it's disorientation during migration. Sometimes, ... birds are just weird. The closest breeding colony of anhinga is in Oklahoma at the Tishomingo National Wildlife Refuge, Taylor said. But who knows? It could be a weather system. It could be a bird that just got lost and is looking for a new place to set up in a colony and breed. What could this mean for Colorado's ecology? Sign of ecological shifts. Taylor notes the human-made wetlands, like some of the ponds and reservoirs in Colorado, can provide great habitat for birds like anhingas, which are piscivores, fish eaters, and prefer warm, shallow waters full of prey. These top predator aquatic birds are good indicators of ecosystem health. If they're breeding successfully, that means there aren't contaminants in the environment, Taylor said. Historically, water birds suffered pretty significantly from DDT concentration, but seeing the failures of ospreys and bald eagles, for example, led to legislation to get rid of those chemicals from the environment. So the arrival is a good indicator of healthy aquatic ecosystems and lots of aquatic food. Not the first one. Others include crested carcara, wood storks. Recent, okay. Birders and cautious onlookers. Okay, and hingas are just really charismatic and weird, so I encourage people to go out and try and see it if they can. All right, that would be a good. There's another good ending. There's another paragraph at the end here, but I think that's a good ending for that one. Okay, how about this one? Is this one any good? Let's see. This one's from Central Maine. Augusta bird attack prompts trail closures at Bond Brooks Trails. Another fucking bird attack. 2 pounds of fury. Officials believe a nesting goshawk is defending its territory and is attacking people it deems threatening. Wow, that's a lot of ads. Ooh, subscribe. No thank you. Are you fucking kidding me? What? 4-minute read. God damn it. Did I just get fucking ad blocked? Fuck you, man. Okay, never mind. We're not doing that one. Doing this one from Vox. Scientists are dropping live mosquitoes out of drones in Hawaii. Here's why. What does this have to do with birds? Oh, the wild reason why bird advocates are releasing these reviled insects from the sky. All right, I'm gonna put a bet down right now that it's going to be as a food source for the many fucked up bird species in Hawaii that have been getting totally fucked over by habitat loss. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to chug this entire protein shake, which is going to be really gross, and it's probably going to make me cough because it's full of this fucking plant powder. So let's go. Let's see. Hawaii scenario. Hawaii faces extinction crisis. Okay, sounds like I'm mostly right. Scientists are literally racing to save what wildlife remains. For the state's avian species, its iconic forest bird, significant too to indigenous Hawaiian culture, the main force of extinction is malaria, a mosquito-borne disease. Mosquitoes, a non-native pest, were introduced accidentally in the early 1800s by a whaling ship. Bloodsuckers proliferated across the islands and later began spreading avian malaria, a blood-borne pathogen they transmit through their bites. A disease which can be fatal utterly devastated the state's forest birds, and especially a group of species in the finch family known as honeycreepers. There were once more than 50 of the species of colorful songbirds across Hawaii, and today all but 17 are extinct. As I've observed firsthand, the forests here have grown silent. Few honeycreepers invade malaria, largely because they live in higher elevations, climate change is warming the islands, allowing insects to march uphill in the remaining avian strongholds. Some experts describe this as an extinction conveyor belt. Saving these birds is literally quite literally a race against the clock. That's where the drone comes in. Fighting mosquitoes with mosquitoes? Oh, shit. Oh, damn it. Okay, dropping biodegradable containers of mosquitoes into honeycreeper habitats. Now you're starting to do it with giant drones. Containers fall to the ground without a top. When they land, the insects escape into the forest. Critically, these are not your typical mosquitoes. They're all males which don't bite and have been reared in a lab. Shit, I was wrong. They aren't the food source. They dropped a bunch of males so the mosquitoes can't fucking, so the mosquitoes don't need to go bite birds, because the males don't bite, they don't drink blood, they just eat other shit. The females are the ones that need blood for the larvae. So I was fucking wrong. Now you get to hear me drink this entire protein shake. Wow, that wasn't as bad as I thought, because it's all collected as sludge on the bottom. I guess I'll eat the sludge too. Alright, that was a waste of time. Anyway, it sounds like the scientists are releasing mosquitoes, so there aren't as many female mosquitoes. Oh wait, okay, yeah, and they made the males infertile too, so they can't create more mosquitoes. Wow, that's awesome. It erodes the population of biting mosquitoes. That's cool. Good for the scientists. Hope they win. Because those honey creepers, I think I read an article that they're not doing great. Okay, that's all this. Do I have any more good ones? 2 men stabbed on Bird Street. That's not fucking bird news. God damn it. That's just Florida news. Miami-Dade deputies investigated a double stabbing along Bird Road Monday morning. Video from Sky 10 shows the crime scene tape up at... oh, shit. Yeah, that has nothing to do with birds at all. Those are just dudes getting stabbed in Florida, which is not really my wheelhouse of news. Okay, that was bird news. That was bird news for episode 10. Hell yeah. Let's go. Off to a great start. Alright, let's get right into media recommendations. Fuck it. Let's go. Okay, so I've been watching The Righteous Gemstones, written by the fucking guy. Damn it. Not Jeff Goldblum. Danny McBride. Why did I think Jeff Goldblum? That's not even the closest name. But yeah, it's got Danny McBride and that weird little dude who's in the later seasons of Modern Family, and John Goodman, and it's about this family of like basically big television preachers, big like televangelists, I think is the term. So it's a family of televangelists, and they have a big media empire, and it's about their basically all their little adventures and being greedy and shitty comedic little people. But yeah, it's a very good show. They do a great job of not making the main characters who are, you know, parodies of basically these fucking luxury preachers that are kind of popular in the United States, and yeah, but it doesn't like make them so evil and like so stupid that they're just like buffoons. Like it's not It's Always Sunny level of like fucking over the top characters. They actually do a pretty good job. The writers, I guess Danny McBride and his buddies, do a pretty good job of making the characters sympathetic at times, because they have to win against their adversaries sometimes. Otherwise, there aren't other seasons. And right now, I think they're on season 4. It also has that guy from White Lotus. I talked about. He was the guy. It was the guy who wore a kilt at the Met Gala. Walter Goggins. Yeah, Walter Goggins is in it too. Is kind of a scumbag former child star preacher guy, and it's a very good show. Highly recommended. Haven't watched a lot of movies lately, so I'll get back to you on that. But psych, no, I won't. What have I been listening to as far as music? That's kind of a tough one. I've been listening to. Oh, there was one I wanted to mention. Listen to. What have I been listening to? Oh, you know what? I've been listening to some MGMT. I was listening to not as much of their older stuff, but I really liked their 2019 album, Little Dark Age. It's kind of become, it's accidentally, well, I guess not accidentally. It's coincidentally become a timeless album, because it's felt like every single year. I guess back then they felt like, oh yeah, we're entering like a little dark age, even though it's also kind of about like, oh, like a, interpersonal dark age, like isolation and stuff like that. But they had no idea what isolation there was to come during the 2020 pandemic, and then the intense social alienation of all the generations under age 45 from 2020 onward. So, you know what? It stands the test of time, because it's only been, 6 years since the album's dropped, and yeah, we're still in that little dark age. I'd really hope that MGMT drops another album that's a little bit happier so this dark age can end. I don't know if it's their fault, but if it is, please, guys, we're counting on you. Make a fun little piano ditty. Maybe just beep, 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 beep. No, that sucks. Also, that was from a different song, I think. I think I stole that. So don't bother with that one. Yeah, MGMT. Who else I've been listening to? Still been listening to a lot of my metal, like Wormrot, and been listening to some more Mastodon again. And who else? There was someone else who I was listening to a lot of. I just didn't think of it. Rage Against the Machine. They're classic, but yeah. Who else? Shit. I kind of thought that I had something else to talk about as far as music. But for whatever reason, it's really just kind of falling apart for me right now. Oh, right. Okay, yeah. As far as really more indie artists, Scarlett House, pretty good. So Scarlett House is like, it's a guy. I guess it's a band, but it seems like it's really just one guy who plays a lot of the guitars, and it makes kind of like sad but sort of heavy music, where it's like the guitars have like a thick, heavy tone, but the vocals are all generally pretty soft, and the lyrics are sad. And it's sort of like that sort of middle ground that Deftones hits, where they're not like totally metal, and then they're not just like 100% atmospheric. It's like the ones where there's definitely some heavy guitar, but the lyrics are sad, and the vocals are clean and like, chill. What's the one I'm kind of thinking of here? Beware, like Beware by Deftones, that song. That's similar to what Scarlett House puts out. But yeah, pretty cool. Very much up and coming. Only really started making music like a couple years ago, I think. Yeah, basically like last year, which is wild. Or I guess 2022. Yeah. But yeah, Scarlett House, check them out. Pretty cool band. Okay, and then that gets to books, and I've been fucking tearing ass in my books lately. I never thought of myself as like, totally illiterate person, but I was tearing through a bunch of books recently, because right now I'm reading a nonfiction book about the sinking of the El Faro in Hurricane Joaquin in 2015. I believe it's called Into the Raging Sea. It's pretty cool. But I haven't gone too deep into that, because I was going back to a favorite author of mine, Christopher Buehlman. And Christopher Buehlman, he's an author that kind of grew on me over time. I think I first read one of his books when I was a teenager. It may have been like late high school, early college, something like that. And he has, I wanted to talk about his books because he has kind of a very different, his character style and his style of horror writing is very different from the God of Endings, which is the book that I talked about a couple episodes ago. So Christopher Buehlman, he's been writing novels since about 2011, I think. And but kind of before he started writing in earnest, he was he wrote like short stories and poetry and plays, and then was also like basically like a performing artist / comedian. He would do he had like a character that he would play at Renaissance fairs, and I guess this love of medieval history and culture kind of bleeds its way into some of his novels, especially Between Two Fires and The Black Tongue Thief, the latter of which is more of a fantasy rather than a straight up real like in our universe horror fiction, which is what he was doing through a lot of the 2010s. But yeah, I've found that like kind of initially I wasn't a big fan of his books because they were very bleak, and the the characters tended to make very the one theme is that not a theme. What the fuck am I saying? One trope in his books is that there's usually one or two major tragic mistakes that the protagonist will make that tend to go very, very wrong for them and level the playing field, so to speak, with the antagonist. Even if, like, he's very good at kind of having a twist where all of a sudden, even though the protagonist seems to maybe be in control of things, and all of a sudden, they make a mistake, or someone makes a mistake somewhere. Some coincidence, and things tend to go out of control. And I really didn't like that, because I especially when I was younger, I really liked having like a certain level of momentum in the book. If I felt that a plot was going in a direction one way, then I wanted it to kind of keep going in that direction until it hit a climax, and then maybe you have a twist at the end or something like that. But Buehlman oftentimes has his twists kind of right in the middle or like right before like the climax. And so it's not, yeah, so it's a little bit, it's doesn't feel the same as a lot of other horror fiction or action fiction that I've read, um, at least as far as I can remember. But yeah, he has a very different style of character than in the God of Endings. The 3 books of his that I read recently were, or rather reread, I reread 2 of them, were The Lesser Dead, The Suicide Motor Club, and The Necromancer's House. And I had read The Necromancer's House for the first time most recently, and I was rereading it this time. The one I read for the first time last week was The Suicide Motor Club, which is kind of like a set in sort of the same, well, they're all supposed to be technically in the same universe, but this one was sort of a prequel in a way for one of the characters in The Lesser Dead. And because I don't have that much time, I'm not going to get a ton into the plots of any of these novels, but I kind of just wanted to talk about the difference in characterization of vampires and of antagonists, as well as the protagonists. Because one thing that I enjoy quite a bit, especially now in Christopher Buehlman's novels, is that generally speaking, the protagonists are very proactive. Like they're ready to get shit done. If they sense something is off about the newcomer to the neighborhood, or in the case of The Lesser Dead, the new vampires in the vampire neighborhood, the secret vampire neighborhood under New York City. Very interesting setting. But yeah, generally it's like the protagonists are very proactive, where they will try and solve the problem as soon as possible. Like sometimes there's a little bit of a delay, but generally none of the protagonists in Christopher Buehlman's books, at least none of the main protagonists, they don't panic. They don't freak out and just freeze, or like try and hide, or like just try and go about their lives, or think that they're going crazy. Like they're usually pretty locked in to like, okay, this is a problem. This is a vampire, or these are demons, and I need to figure out a way to take them out. And I find this sort of, proactive, I think, is the right word. I very much like it compared to characters in a lot of contemporary horror, where it's like where they're constantly second guessing themselves, and they really don't know what to do, or they don't do their research, or they're just like, they're so freaked out that they don't even think to like try different options and call for help. But a lot of Christopher Buehlman's characters, they do that sort of thing. But part of the horror in his books is that sometimes, sometimes shit just happens. Sometimes there's weird coincidences that go in the antagonist's favor. Sometimes the protagonists make a mistake or kind of overplay their hand, and it screws them over in the end. But there's always some kind of like twist of fate, and some people might call it like that could be kind of a cop out, especially when it'll just be like a coincidence happening. But it does keep stuff interesting. It also kind of keeps you grounded in the sense where it's like, okay, this is the quote unquote real world, where shit doesn't, like, plans don't always come together. Sometimes, especially in a world where where there's fucking vampires and crazy paranormal shit, sometimes things just fucking happen, and things can get out of hand really fast. But yeah, I mean, I think that's that sort of those sort of twists can really keep the plot engaging. And I burned through all 3 of those books in like basically a day or 2 at a time. I just went right through them, and it helped that I did read them beforehand. But still, very fast reads, very fun. And I also found that there's definitely a very different perspective on vampirism in the first person, where the obviously no most people, well actually not most people, vampires aren't real probably, but in both books, in The God of Endings, which is by Jacqueline Holland. The protagonist is a reluctant vampire, did not want to be turned, did not want to have an eternal life, and in fact was totally okay with dying up to the point where she was revived by her vampire grandfather. And similarly, in The Lesser Dead, which is kind of the central vampire novel in the Buehlman universe, most of the vampires there were, reluctant or unwilling vampires as well. In Buehlman's world, you can intentionally turn someone into a vampire, but more often than not, more vampires are created just by inexperienced vampires, basically sucking too hard by accident. And, sucking too hard. And then backwash. It's a whole thing. There's a whole process to it, but the processes are pretty similar in both books. But the difference is in Buehlman's vampire universe, most of the vampires tend to be kind of consumed by their by their need for blood. It's definitely kind of more of an addiction motif in Buehlman's books, where it's like, addiction, even people who are otherwise kind of good people and don't really want to be, drinking blood from things, like it can make you do crazy shit. And, there's definitely kind of more of that. The vampires in The God of Endings seem to kind of have a little bit more control over, over how much blood they need, and kind of like, basically the day-to-day of being a vampire seems a little bit less chaotic. It also helps that in The God of Endings, the vampires there aren't vulnerable to the sunlight. They're basically just, immortal, blood-sucking beings that actually can't die no matter what. In The Lesser Dead, the vampires can be killed, some more easily than others. But I did find it to be just very interesting how different in some ways the two versions of vampires are. In The God of Endings, like I said, they're immortal and indestructible, but our main vampire protagonist is, very reluctant to, try and change her situation. She kind of just wants to try and just, live in peace and be shut away from the world. And in contrast, the vampires in The Lesser Dead and to some extent in the Suicide Motor Club, they kind of have to be, they feel like they have to be kind of more interested in the world, because otherwise you're just hanging out underground or something out of the sun. And so I guess it's possible that in that case the sense of danger sort of, I don't know. I think it makes the mentality of the characters different. But honestly, in The God of Endings, which is why I kind of feel like the author intentionally made her protagonist that way, basically just as a way to explore depression rather than explore, like, oh, what would happen if you became a vampire? It's kind of more like, what if you were depressed forever? And like how, or like, what if you had depression but were going to live forever and you knew that? And kind of how would that affect you? And then kind of the vehicle of that, for that idea was vampirism. But yeah, it definitely feels intentional in The God of Endings to make the protagonist so reluctant in that way. Because the other vampires that we see in that universe, which is her grandfather and her grandfather's like manservant, Slavic manservant guy, they're more kind of like the some of the older, wealthier vampires that they saw in the Lesser Dead, where they're kind of like they're trying to do kind of some moving and shaking in a way, and they just kind of keep going on and taking on new identities and things like that. But the protagonist in the God of Endings, she doesn't really want to do any of that. She just wants to live as a regular person and have like a peaceful life where she doesn't have to kill a bunch of stuff. And then and then she, honestly, at the end, at least in the beginning, she wanted to die. It's a little bit less clear if she's so obsessed with wanting a final ending by the end of the novel. But yeah, I think just it's once again, yeah, I don't want to knock the God of Endings at all, because it's very, very well written, and it's, in some cases better written than parts of Buehlman's books. But Buehlman also is a very skilled writer, and there's a lot more both brutality but also humor in Buehlman's novels that aren't quite there in the God of Endings. God of Endings is definitely a much more muted view of vampire horror fiction. And yeah, honestly, yeah, both are good, but they're very different. So I think if you're into the more action-packed, especially action, if you really like action and violence, Buehlman is the way to go. Because every book so far that I've read from him has been very fast-paced, and has also been kind of action-oriented. Action violence is very present, especially in the latter halves, in the second and third acts of his novels. Yeah, very, very cool author. Check him out. But also recommend The God of Endings if you want kind of a more of a quiet, contemplating sort of view of vampires. Anyway, it's kind of weird that but it's kind of weird that I ended up talking about vampires for like 3 weeks straight. But it's a fascinating concept anyway. But I mean, I don't know. I got to get out of this rut. Next episode, I'm gonna talk about the fucking ocean and about hurricanes and shit. And that's something that's real fucking scary. I'd rather fight a vampire than a hurricane, I think. Hurricane you don't have to invite into your fucking house. That's something that's the same in... actually, no. No, yeah, the God of Endings really doesn't have a lot of the same vampire stuff at all. Like, it's like garlic, don't really care about that. Crosses, sunlight, Like, there's like literally... It's crazy. The only similarity to traditional vampires in the God of Endings is blood. I don't know if that spoiled it too much, but yeah, like I said, both authors have very differing but interesting views of something that's been rehashed so many times as vampires in fiction. Like, holy shit, what the fuck is that? Never mind, I'm ignoring that. Honestly, yeah, this ended up just being kind of a literature episode, but there's definitely going to be something bigger on the way. I have I'm having an idea for a new segment coming up. That's going to be incorporated into the next episode. You know what? And probably, you know what? You know what? Do you know what? I'm going to make another episode 10. This episode 10 was a bit of a wash. I'm still going to upload this, but this is not the 10th anniversary, or not anniversary, fucking 10th episode 10 special extravaganza that I was hoping it to be. Mostly just because I've just been running out of time. I've been busy doing things in the real world that isn't this. So, yeah. Next time it's gonna be big. It's gonna be huge. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be new shit. It's probably gonna be a guest. I'll drag someone in off the street. I don't give a fuck. You have to come talk to me now. I got a weekly upload schedule to uphold. I have a weekly upload schedule to uphold. So yeah, it's gonna happen. Even though this is coming out like 2 weeks after the last one, and it's about an hour shorter than the last one. Fuck it. You don't fucking need shit from me, all right? You don't get to just take shit from me out of my fucking house. You don't get to take shit from me. Anyway, tune in next time for another episode 10. Or actually, not a fucking goddamn it. It's not another episode 10. It's an episode with a little bit more flair than this one. It's going to be the 10th episode celebration episode. Not to be confused with the 10th episode, which is this episode. Okay? Got it? Stay tuned. More things coming. Thank you for listening. Signing off. Goodbye.